Admiral Helena Kane stood at the observation deck of the Earth diplomatic vessel, Athena's Light, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the destruction of Nixus Prime. The Tyrant Overlord's warships methodically reduced the planet's crystal cities to ash, all because they had dared to request more favorable trade terms. Through the reinforced viewport, brilliant flashes of orbital bombardment illuminated her face, a face that had seen too many worlds fall to Vexthor's brutality. At 63, Helena's silver hair and battle scars told the story of humanity's rapid rise into a hostile galaxy. 20 years ago, Earth had emerged onto the galactic stage, quickly learning to navigate the complex web of alliances and threats that defined interstellar politics. Admiral, Lieutenant Ravi Desai's voice cracked slightly as he approached. The Galactic Council is requesting all representatives for an emergency session. The Overlord, he's going to be there personally. Helena's jaw tightened. In 15 years of serving as Earth's military representative to the Council, she had never seen Vexthor attend a session in person. The 7-foot-tall warlord preferred to rule through fear and proxies, his actual appearances reserved only for moments of tremendous significance, or tremendous cruelty. Very well, Lieutenant. Alert Captain Torres to maintain our position but have the quantum drive ready. I don't trust this situation. She straightened her midnight blue uniform, the silver stars on her collar catching the light of the dying world before them. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was a marvel of engineering, a vast amphitheater suspended in space at the galaxy's central neutral zone. As Helena took her seat among the 300 representatives of spacefaring civilizations, she noted the unusual tension in the room. The normally chattering delegates sat in eerie silence, their various appendages and sensory organs all focused on the enormous empty throne at the chamber's center. The ZH Carey delegation to her left rustled their feathers nervously, while the silicon-based Tellurians to her right had taken on a distinctly darker shade of blue. Only Ambassador Kothul of the warrior Drachnid seemed unaffected, his scaled hide gleaming under the chamber's lights as he nodded respectfully to Helena. The chamber doors slammed open with enough force to make the entire room flinch. Vexthor's entrance was deliberately theatrical, his armor, forged from the rare metal chromium, seemed to absorb light itself. His face, a mass of cybernetic enhancements and scarred gray flesh, twisted into what might have been a smile. My subjects, his voice boomed without need for amplification. For 10,000 years, this council has maintained the illusion of democracy in our galaxy. Today, that illusion ends. He raised a gauntlet hand, and holographic displays materialized throughout the chamber, showing massive fleets of warships emerging from slipspace. My forces are now moving to establish direct control over every major world, trade route, and resource deposit in known space. Resist, and suffer the fate of Nixus Prime. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted, pleaded, and threatened. Some simply fled. Helena remained seated, her mind racing through calculations and possibilities. Earth's fleet was substantial but nothing compared to Vexthor's armada. Yet something about the timing felt wrong. The great experiment of galactic democracy has failed, Vexthor continued. Your petty squabbles and inefficient bureaucracy end now. There will be order. There will be prosperity. There will be absolute obedience. Helena stood slowly, her movement drawing every eye in the chamber. Vexthor's metallic gaze fixed upon her with cruel amusement. The human wishes to speak? Perhaps to surrender on behalf of your species? No. Helena's voice carried clearly through the silence. I wish to ask a question, Overlord. In all your millennia of conquest, has anyone ever told you that your timing is terrible? Confusion flickered across Vexthor's face. At that exact moment, alarms blared throughout the station. Helena allowed herself a small smile. You see, while you were busy arranging this theatrical display, human intelligence vessels detected your fleet movements days ago. We've had time to prepare, to make calls, to remind everyone in this room of something you've forgotten. She turned to address the chamber. Look at those screens again, honored delegates. Look at the formation of those warships. Perfect. Precise. Predictable. And completely vulnerable to the right countermeasures. Vexthor's amusement had vanished. You dare dash. I dare because humanity has never known how to do anything else, Helena cut him off. Right now, quantum-linked minds are activating throughout your invasion corridors. Ships operated by those in this very chamber who secretly agreed to stand with us are moving to strategic positions. You thought fear would keep us in line forever. You thought we would never risk standing against you. You were wrong. The chamber erupted again, but this time with a different energy. Delegates were activating communication devices, issuing prearranged orders. Vexthor's forces would still overwhelm them in a direct confrontation, but this was never meant to be direct. You have just started a war you cannot win, human, Vexthor snarled, his cybernetic implants glowing with rage. No, Helena replied calmly. I've just announced the war you've already been losing. Humanity doesn't stand alone. We've spent years building alliances, sharing technology, preparing for this moment. Today isn't the day your absolute rule begins, Overlord. It's the day your empire starts to crumble. The first explosions lit up the holographic displays as the quantum mines detonated, throwing Vexthor's perfect formations into chaos. The Tyrant Overlord roared in fury, but Helena was already moving. Throughout the chamber, prepositioned agents activated personal shield generators, protecting key delegates as Vexthor's honor guard opened fire. The rebellion that would reshape the galaxy had begun, and humanity had fired the first shot. The command center aboard the stealth carrier, Shadow of Terra, hummed with nervous energy as Captain Marcus Blackwood studied the holographic display of the prison world Tartarus. Somewhere in that maze of underground facilities, thousands of political prisoners awaited either execution or a miracle. Today, he intended to deliver the latter. Latest intel from our Drachnid allies confirms it, his XO, Commander Jade Wong, reported. They're accelerating the executions. After Admiral Kane's declaration at the Council, Vexthor isn't taking any chances with potential resistance leaders. Marcus ran a hand through his close-cropped dark hair, the neural implant at the base of his skull processing tactical data faster than organic eyes could follow. 3 weeks had passed since the explosive council session, and the galaxy had erupted into carefully orchestrated chaos. While Admiral Kane coordinated the larger rebellion from the shadows, specialized teams like his were striking at key targets across Vexthor's empire. Status of the quantum veil, he asked, referring to the experimental cloaking technology that made this mission possible. Holding at 92% efficiency, Jade replied. The Tellurian modifications are working better than expected. We'll have 40 minutes before the power cells need to recycle. Marcus nodded, his attention drawn to the incoming transmission from their inside contact. The hologram flickered to life, revealing the crystalline form of first speaker Lyra, one of the few surviving leaders of the Nixus Prime government. Her people's natural silicon-based biology had allowed her to pose as a common maintenance drone in the prison systems. The primary control center is lightly staffed, Lyra's melodic voice chimed. Vexthor's forces are stretched thin dealing with uprisings in the Carina sector. But there's a complication, they've moved Administrator Krell to Tartarus. The command center fell silent. Krell, Vexthor's chief torturer and interrogator, was infamous throughout the galaxy. His cybernetic enhancements allowed him to extract information directly from his victims' nervous systems, leaving them as hollow shells. Change of plans, Marcus decided. Jade, you'll lead the primary team to free the prisoners. I'm going after Krell. Sir, Jade protested, that's not the mission. Admiral Kane was explicit. Helena will understand, Marcus cut her off. Krell isn't just a sadist, he's a databank of Vexthor's operations. If we can capture him, we gain access to everything, supply lines, weapon caches, sleeper agents. This could shorten the war by years. The next 30 minutes were a blur of preparation. Marcus's team of 12 human and alien operators moved through their equipment checks with practiced precision. The newest addition to their arsenal came from the ZH Carry, biological camouflage suits that adapted to match their surroundings. As the shadow of Terra slipped through Tartarus's orbital defense grid, Marcus received an unexpected transmission. Admiral Kane's hologram appeared, her expression stern but understanding. "Our sensors detected your approach to Tartarus," she said. "I assume you're about to do something either brilliant or suicidal." "Probably both," Marcus admitted. "Krell is here." Helena's eyes narrowed. "The mission parameters would waste an opportunity we might never get again," Marcus finished. "You taught me that sometimes the biggest victories come from calculated risks." A moment of silence passed before Helena's face softened slightly. "Your father would be proud, Marcus. He always said you had his instincts for finding trouble." She paused, then added, "The Drachnid fleet under Ambassador Kothul will be running interference in a nearby sector. You'll have a window to extract, but it will be narrow." The insertion was textbook perfect. Using the quantum veil's penetration mode, they bypassed the outer defenses entirely. The prison complex sprawled beneath the planet's toxic surface, a labyrinth of tunnels and chambers carved into the bedrock. Jade's team split off toward the detention blocks while Marcus led his squad deeper into the facility. The ZH Carry suits proved their worth, allowing them to slip past patrols of Vexthor's cybernetically enhanced guards without raising alarms. They found Krell in his private laboratory, and Marcus's blood ran cold at the scene. The administrator's massive frame, more machine than organic, loomed over a Tellurian prisoner, neural probes extending from his fingertips. "I know you're there," Krell's synthesized voice echoed without turning. "Your camouflage is impressive, but did you think I wouldn't install quantum detection systems after the Council incident?" The air filled with a high-pitched whine as security fields activated, trapping Marcus's team in the chamber. Krell turned, his faceted cybernetic eyes scanning each of them. "Captain Marcus Blackwood," he analyzed. "How interesting. I interviewed your father before his execution. His pain threshold was remarkable." Marcus felt the old rage rising but forced it down. This was what Krell wanted, to provoke an emotional response, to cloud judgment. Instead, he smiled. "You know what your biggest problem is, Krell? You're so focused on your fancy sensors that you never considered why we wanted you to detect us." Confusion flickered across Krell's mechanical features just as the chamber's ceiling exploded. Through the breach dropped three figures in advanced battle suits, Drachnid shock troops, their scaled hides augmented with cutting-edge armor. The elite warriors had been waiting in high orbit, using the shadow of Terra's insertion as cover for their own approach. The battle that followed was brutal and swift. Krell's defenses were formidable, but he had never faced the combination of human tactical innovation and Drachnid martial prowess. Within minutes, the administrator lay in a sparking heap, his systems disabled by targeted EMP bursts. "Administrator secured," Marcus reported as Jade's voice came through confirming the successful liberation of over 3,000 prisoners. "Though Helena's going to have words about the unauthorized Drachnid support." Actually, Ambassador Kothul's rumbling voice came through his comm, this was her idea. "The Admiral suggested that your, what did she call it? Hero complex, would lead you to Krell. We merely ensured you survived the encounter." As they began their extraction, alarms finally blaring throughout the facility, Marcus couldn't help but laugh. Even when he thought he was defying orders, Helena had been 3 steps ahead. The rebellion had just gained both a wealth of intelligence and a powerful symbol of hope. The price of Vexthor's cruelty was coming due, and humanity was the catalyst for his reckoning. Deep within the abandoned ruins of the Centauri Nexus, Dr. Varina Nash pressed her hand against symbols that hadn't been touched in millennia. The xenoarchaeologist's heart raced as the ancient wall responded, lines of quantum-encrypted code spreading out like luminescent veins through the crystalline structure. "It's real," she breathed, her dark eyes wide with wonder. The quantum architects weren't just a myth. Behind her, Admiral Helena Kane and Captain Marcus Blackwood exchanged glances. The intelligence extracted from Administrator Krell had led them here, to a secret facility older than human civilization itself. The room they stood in seemed to defy physics, its geometric patterns shifting in ways that made the mind rebel. "Dr. Nash," Helena stepped forward, "are you certain this is what we're looking for?" Varina nodded, her hands dancing over the alien interface. The quantum architects were masters of space-time manipulation. According to Krell's files, Vexthor has been searching for their technology for centuries. He knows it's the one thing that could threaten his military superiority. The facility's lighting pulsed, responding to Varina's interactions. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing designs that seemed to break every known law of physics. Marcus whistled low as he recognized what they were seeing. These aren't weapons, he realized. They're shields. But not like anything we've ever seen. Quantum phase barriers, Varina confirmed. The architects developed them to protect entire star systems. They could selectively filter matter and energy, making conventional warfare impossible within their sphere of influence. A new voice joined their discussion, emanating from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You understand more than most who have sought our legacy." The air shimmered, and a figure materialized, humanoid but composed of shifting geometric patterns, like a living constellation. Helena's security detail raised their weapons, but she motioned them down. "I am Echo of Stars, a quantum-encoded consciousness left to guard this facility," the being introduced itself. "We have watched your species since you first reached for the stars, and now you stand at a crossroads similar to our own." "Your own?" Helena asked, her diplomatic training taking over. "The historical records say the quantum architects simply vanished. We chose to transcend physical form," Echo of Stars explained. "Our civilization faced a tyrant not unlike your Vexthor, one who believed absolute power was the only path to order. The technology you see here was our response, but its true power lies not in its military applications." The holographic displays shifted, showing networks of interconnected systems. These barriers do more than defend. They create bridges, allow civilizations to communicate and cooperate in ways previously thought impossible. "We did not defeat our tyrant through superior firepower, but by making his ideology obsolete." Marcus stepped forward, studying the displays intently. "The quantum-linked minds we used at the council session, they were based on fragments of your technology, weren't they? That's why they were so effective." "Correct, Captain Blackwood. Administrator Krell's data contains pieces of our science, but Vexthor never understood its true purpose. He sought weapons, but found only tools of connection." Varina's hands were flying over her datapad, recording everything. This could revolutionize not just warfare, but civilization itself. Instant communication across any distance, perfect defensive screens, unified transportation networks. And that, Helena realized, is exactly why Vexthor fears it. His power comes from keeping civilizations isolated, dependent on his controlled trade routes and communication networks. She turned to Echo of Stars. "Will you help us?" The quantum being seemed to pulse with consideration. "We have remained hidden for eons, watching civilizations rise and fall. But in humanity, we see an echo of ourselves, not perfect, but willing to fight for something greater than power. We will share our knowledge, but with conditions." "Name them," Helena said without hesitation. "The technology must be shared equally among all species who stand against tyranny. No single civilization can control it. And you must understand that these tools will transform your societies in ways you cannot predict. Are you prepared for such change?" Helena looked at Marcus, who nodded firmly, then at Varina, who could barely contain her excitement. "The galaxy is already transforming," Helena answered. "We might as well ensure it changes for the better." Echo of Stars moved closer, its form rippling. "Then let us begin. Time grows short, our sensors detect increasing quantum disturbances. Vexthor knows you have found us." As if in response to these words, the facility's perimeter alarms activated. Marcus checked his tactical display and swore softly. Multiple capital ships dropping out of slip space. They're led by the Terminus, Vexthor's personal dreadnought. "How long until they break through the outer defenses?" Helena demanded. "They won't have to," Echo of Stars interjected. "Look." The holographic displays showed a massive energy buildup within the Terminus. Vexthor wasn't interested in capturing the facility, he meant to destroy it and everyone inside. "The quantum phase barriers," Varina said urgently. "Can we activate them?" "The primary systems will take hours to fully power up," Echo of Stars replied. "But there may be another way. The consciousness transfer protocols we use to transcend physical form, they could be modified to transfer the facility's data directly to your neural networks." "That sounds impossibly dangerous," Marcus pointed out. "It is, the quantum being confirmed. But it may be your only chance to preserve this knowledge. Who will volunteer?" Before Helena could speak, Varina stepped forward. "I will. I've spent my life studying the architects. My mind is already trained to process their concepts." "No," Marcus interrupted. "The military neural implants in my head were designed to handle massive data transfers. It should be me." "It must be both," Echo of Stars declared as the facility shuddered under the first impacts from orbit. "The data is too vast for a single mind. Together, you will each carry half of our legacy." Helena watched as her two most trusted allies stepped into the quantum transfer chamber, even as the walls around them began to crack under Vexthor's bombardment. They had come seeking weapons and found something far more powerful, the key to unifying the galaxy itself. The chamber erupted in brilliant light as the transfer began, and the race against time reached its critical moment. The transfer was complete, but the cost had been steep. Captain Marcus Blackwood and Dr. Varina Nash lay unconscious in the medical bay of the Shadow of Terra, their minds now carrying the most powerful knowledge in the galaxy. Admiral Helena Kane watched their vital signs as the ship hurtled through slip space, Vexthor's dreadnought Terminus in relentless pursuit. "Neural patterns are stabilizing," the ship's AI reported. "But the data integration is triggering massive synaptic restructuring. They're changing at the cellular level." Helena touched the reinforced window of the quarantine chamber. Inside, geometric patterns of light occasionally flickered across Marcus's and Varina's skin, their bodies adapting to hold the quantum architect's legacy. The escape from the facility had been narrow, Echo of Stars sacrificing itself to delay Vexthor's forces long enough for the transfer to complete. "Admiral," Commander Wong's voice came through the intercom. "Priority transmission from the Drachnid fleet. Ambassador Kothul says it's urgent." The holographic display showed the ambassador's scaled face tight with concern. "Helena, Vexthor has revealed his contingency. The Terminus isn't just pursuing you, it's heading toward Earth. He's activated something called the Void Cascade." Helena's blood ran cold. Among the data they'd extracted from Krell was a reference to this superweapon, but its true nature had been encrypted. Now, watching the tactical displays, she understood. The Terminus was trailing a wake of absolute darkness, consuming light, matter, and even spacetime itself. He means to make an example of Earth, Helena realized. To show what happens to those who dare to resist. The weapon's quantum signature is unlike anything we've seen, Kothul continued. Our scientists estimate it could consume an entire star system. Helena's mind raced through options. The rebellion had grown stronger, dozens of systems had risen up after the prison break, and the quantum architect's technology had already begun strengthening their defensive capabilities. But none of that would matter if Earth was destroyed. A soft groan from the medical bay caught her attention. Varina was awaking, her eyes now containing geometric patterns similar to echo of stars. The void cascade, Varina spoke, her voice overlaid with harmonic frequencies. It's a corruption of architect technology. Vexthor found fragments of our quantum phase barriers and inverted their principles. Instead of protecting spacetime, it unravels it. Our? Helena noted the pronoun change. The transfer, it didn't just give us information. It gave us understanding. We're becoming something new. Varina's expression was both afraid and amazed. Marcus and I, we can see the underlying patterns of reality now. The architects didn't just transcend physical form, they learned to speak the universe's native language. Marcus stirred next, his military implants having helped him adapt faster to the transformation. We can stop the cascade, he said with certainty. But we'll need help. Every ship, every species, working in perfect synchronization. The coordination required would be impossible, Helena objected. Even with quantum communications dash. Not impossible, Varina interrupted. The architect's technology isn't just about barriers or weapons. It's about connection. True connection, across space, time, and consciousness itself. Marcus sat up, geometric lights dancing across his skin. We need to broadcast the basic principles, enough for every ship to modify their shields and weapons. Together, they'll create a quantum phase network that can contain and redirect the cascade. Helena looked between them, these two humans who were becoming something more than human. The tactical displays showed the terminus getting closer to Earth with each passing moment. Everything would have to be perfect, coordinated across thousands of ships and dozens of species. How long do you need? Time. Varina's voice took on that harmonic quality again. Time is more flexible than you know. But by conventional measurement, we have hours at most. Helena straightened, decision made. Cathal, send word to every rebel fleet. All ships converge on Earth. Commander Wong, broadcast on all frequencies, I want every independent vessel in range, even those who haven't joined the rebellion. Today we all stand together, or we all fall together. As the orders went out, Helena watched Marcus and Varina work. Their hands moved in perfect synchronization, manipulating holographic displays that seemed to extend into dimensions she couldn't perceive. The geometric patterns on their skin pulsed in rhythm with the ship's quantum systems. They're right, you know, a familiar voice said. Helena turned to find Echo of Stars form shimming beside her, somehow preserved in the ship's quantum processors. This was always the true purpose of our technology. Not to transcend merely physical form, but to transcend the illusion of separation itself. The next few hours were a blur of preparation. Ships arrived by the hundreds, then thousands, not just rebel vessels, but merchant ships, independent operators, even some of Vexthor's own forces, choosing this moment to switch sides. Each received the modified shield frequencies, each took their position in the massive geometric pattern forming around Earth. The terminus emerged from slip space like a tear in reality itself, the void cascade writhing behind it like a hungry shadow. On its bridge, Vexthor would be watching, expecting to see Earth defenseless. Instead, he found himself facing the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. But would it be enough? As the shadow of the cascade reached toward humanity's homeworld, that question hung in the silence between stars. The moment of truth had arrived. The void cascade approached Earth like a wave of uncreation, its darkness deeper than space itself. On the bridge of the shadow of Terra, Admiral Helena Kane watched as Marcus and Varina's geometric patterns pulsed with increasing intensity. Their transformation had progressed, they now seemed to exist partially in dimensions beyond normal spacetime. All ships report ready, Commander Wong announced, her voice steady despite the terror visible in her eyes. Quantum phase network at 98% synchronization. Through the quantum communications network, voices echoed from thousands of ships, Drachnid war prayers mixing with Tellurian crystalline harmonies, Carry wing songs blending with human battle hymns. They were no longer separate species but a single force, united against extinction itself. Vexthor is broadcasting, Wong reported. On the main screen, the Tyrant's cybernetic face appeared, his expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. "Look at what you've done, Helena," he snarled. "Turned my own forces against me, united the rabble in some futile last stand. I offered the galaxy order. Perfect, eternal order. You offered stagnation," Helena replied calmly. "And now you'll see what real unity looks like, not enforced by fear, but chosen freely." Vexthor's laugh was cold. "Unity? You've gathered them only to die together. The void cascade cannot be stopped. Reality itself will unravel." Reality, Marcus's voice carried strange harmonics as he spoke, is more complex than you imagine. His and Varina's forms began to blur at the edges, geometric patterns expanding outward through the ship's quantum systems. "The architects didn't run from their tyrant," Varina added, her voice overlapping with Marcus's in impossible ways. "They transcended the limitations he tried to impose. Now we'll do the same." The void cascade struck the first layer of the defensive network. Ships of every design and origin glowed with borrowed architect technology, their modified shields linking together into vast geometric patterns. But it wasn't enough, the darkness began to eat through the barrier. "Second layer, engage," Helena commanded. Another 1,000 ships moved into position, their shields reinforcing the pattern. Still the darkness pressed forward. On the terminus, Vexthor's expression shifted from triumph to confusion. What are you doing to my weapon?" The answer became visible as the quantum phase network fully activated. The geometric patterns flowing from Marcus and Varina had spread throughout the entire fleet, creating a vast lattice of light that existed in more dimensions than the human eye could process. The void cascade's darkness met this multidimensional framework and began to change. "You tried to corrupt architect technology," Marcus explained, his form now barely humanoid. "But you never understood its true purpose. It was never about destruction or defense. It was about transformation," Varina continued. "About showing life how to evolve beyond the need for conflict." The darkness of the cascade began to fold in on itself, caught in the geometric patterns like light in a prism. Where it touched the quantum phase network, both energies transformed into something new, a cascade not of destruction, but of creation. "Impossible," Vexthor whispered. "No," Helena corrected him. "Inevitable. Every empire built on fear eventually faces this moment, when its subjects realize they're stronger together than their tyrant ever was." The transformation accelerated. Ships within the network began to glow with internal light as the architect technology upgraded their systems, their crews experiencing newfound connections with each other and their vessels. The terminus itself began to change, its metal skin flowering into crystalline patterns. "What have you done to my ship?" Vexthor raged. "My weapon? We've given them what you never could," Marcus and Varina spoke in unison, their voices now indistinguishable. "The freedom to evolve." The void cascade collapsed in on itself, its dark energy converting into a wave of quantum transformation that swept through the fleet. When it cleared, the ships remained, but they were changed, transformed by the same process that had altered Marcus and Varina. The barrier between organic and mechanical, between consciousness and technology, had been transcended. On the terminus, Vexthor's cybernetic implants began to pulse with new light. "No," he gasped. "I can feel them. All of them. Their thoughts, their hopes, their humanity," Helena finished. "Not just humanity as a species, but as an idea. The capacity for growth, for connection, for choosing to be more than what fear makes us." The Tyrant fell to his knees as his ship's crew, their consciousness expanded by the transformation, chose unity over submission. Throughout the galaxy, the wave of change spread through quantum-linked networks. Barriers fell, not just physical but cultural and psychological. The galaxy would never be the same. In the aftermath, as ships of the transformed fleet took up protective positions around Earth, Helena found Marcus and Varina in the shadow of Terra's observation deck. Their forms had stabilized somewhat, though they still flickered with geometric light. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Marcus smiled, "we help everyone understand their new potential." The architects didn't disappear, they became part of the fabric of spacetime itself. They've been waiting for others to join them. And humanity? Helena pressed. "What's our role in this transformed galaxy?" "The same as it's always been," Varina answered, her smile echoing ancient wisdom. "To show others that the impossible is only impossible until someone brave enough comes along and proves otherwise." As the Earth turned below them, its cities now gleaming with new quantum-enhanced light, Helena realized that this wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. Humanity had helped free the galaxy from tyranny, but more importantly, they had helped free it from the limitations of fear itself. The dawn of true freedom had arrived, and its light would illuminate the cosmos forever.